Thank you, David, and welcome to everyone to another Stronger Together series. It's only been a few days since I introduced the last session in this series and talked with all of you about how our business and lives have been impacted by the current global health crisis. I covered how almost all of us now will have experienced changes to our daily lives, some of them profound, with most of us having been asked to stay at home, maintain social distancing, and encouraged to wear PPE when we have had the opportunity or no option but to go out. While on the face of it all, these are very simple things to do, the reason that we've been asked to do these has made them all extremely demanding, and understandably so. However, as I also mentioned a few days ago, we're seeing some of these requirements beginning to ease and some semblances of a normal life returning in certain places. Here in Botswana, just last Friday, we were allowed to go out and exercise for the first time in 6 weeks. It's quite amazing how such simple things can become so rewarding. And internationally, we're seeing the lockdown restrictions being relaxed. We're seeing whole sectors returning to work and even schools reopening. For us at De Beers Group, we continue to see our operations slowly coming back online, mines being brought back into production at a reduced output. And from a retail perspective, our stores, for example, in China, are showing encouraging activity. We should not take any of this for granted. Let's never forget that we are only now in a position to start relaxing restrictions because across the world, people have stood together and made significant sacrifices. We have come a long way since the outbreak began several months ago, but the road ahead will, without doubt, present more challenges along the way. All of us will continue to be required to make adjustments in our lives to keep both ourselves and those around us safe. We will have to accept that in the near term at least, a return to the lives we were once used to are on hold. Now, for an industry that travels a lot, I'm sure many of you, like me, can remember the days when we did not have to remove liquids or laptops from our hand baggage when flying. My guess is that in the near future, there will be many things that become commonplace, which were unthinkable just 3 months ago. But it's also my sincere belief that if we continue to adapt and stand together as families, communities, countries and businesses, we will emerge stronger and more resilient. Those of you who have joined us for previous sessions will have heard Bruce and Paul discuss about these challenges and how we've tried to meet them head on. We've also heard from Anne, who outlined what we're doing as a company to keep our people and the communities in which we operate safe. And Nimesh discussed all the work we've done to try and maintain stability now and what work we are doing to ensure that the recovery when it comes is both sustainable and industry-wide. Most recently, we've also heard from David, who outlined how having a company purpose has informed and shaped how we at De Beers have responded to the crisis, both in what we have said, but more importantly, in what we have done. It would be easy now to dwell on all the negatives and become overwhelmed by them, but I think it's also essential to appreciate all the positives, and there have been many, not least in our industry. We've seen numerous examples in our industry of companies redeploying personnel, equipment, or production capabilities to support their people, their families, and the communities and countries where they are based. This has reaffirmed my belief that in the diamond industry, we are one family, and that we will recover as long as we remain supportive and accommodating of each other. And we continue to deal with today's challenges, whilst also ensuring that at the same time, we are once again ready to help our end consumers celebrate those relationships and events that matter most to them, and of course with diamonds at the centre of that celebration. Turning now to today's session, which, judging from the many related questions we've received during our previous sessions, will be of significant interest and value to many of you. I'm delighted to say that we have two speakers today, both with many years of marketing experience at the highest level. Firstly, we have De Beers Group Executive Vice President of Marketing, Stephen Lussier, who will be joined by a guest speaker, the Chief Executive Officer of the Diamond Producers Association, David Kellie. They are going to share their significant marketing expertise with us and discuss what impact current events have had on marketing strategies now and post-COVID-19. Those of you who have joined us before will know we run a question and answer session following the talks. So please do submit any questions you have in the question and answer facility on your screen. You can do this either during the talks themselves or later during the question and answer session. We will cover as many of these as we can, and we will be happy to answer questions directly relating to the presentations or any other related or more general midstream topics. As David said, we have more events planned over the coming weeks, which will cover topics such as innovation and more. I do hope that you will continue to make space in your busy schedules to attend these future sessions. Thank you once again for joining, and it's now my pleasure to hand you over to Stephen.
Well, thanks, Bernard. Good morning, good afternoon, and I guess even good evening, depending upon where in the world you're joining this conference this morning. Thanks very much for sharing your precious time. I know it's valuable, and David and I will seek to add some value to you over the next 40 minutes or so. I guess to start, I have to say, well, clearly, as a marketer, it's been a time that's required real agility, I think. We've had to move quickly to make changes to our marketing. We've been listening very carefully to consumers, particularly online, to get an understanding of what areas they're interested in, what are they engaging in, and what areas are a turnoff for them. And we've been reflecting now, I think, about the future, particularly the second half of the year, around what are the messages, how do we need to adapt our messages to really maximize the opportunity in the world we find ourselves in as we enter what we call now the new normal post-lockdown. I guess the one thing we know for certain is that precisely what we planned 3 months ago for the second half of the year is not what we're going to do now. We do need to adapt, we need to refine, and we need to make sure we, as I say, maximize the opportunity we have for ourselves within the environment within which we find. I guess, during this period of lockdown, and depending upon where you're joining from today, you're either have exited it and you're in the new normal, or like me here in London, you're still in the lockdown phase, or if you're in the US, depending upon what part of the US you're in, you may be on your way out, you may still be in. But during the lockdown period, it clearly required really fast action. We knew that our traditional promotional marketing was completely inappropriate for that period, so we put that on hold as quickly as we could to conserve our resources for post-lockdown. At the same time, we recognized that there were important things that both brands and, for that matter, the category as a whole needed to be doing during this period of lockdown. And the two areas in particular, I think, that have generated strong consumer engagement. The first is really being able to demonstrate what, either as a brand or as a category, diamonds, what we have been doing for our employees, and particularly for the communities within which we operate, to help deal directly with the issues of COVID. And this is particularly true in Southern Africa, in the case of De Beers, where we've really put the full resources of the De Beers Group into play to help those communities prepare. And David Prager, my colleague, for those of you who were on last week, would have heard all the detail of that, so I won't go through it. But I think the key point here is that it is important to communicate what we're doing to our consumers as well, because in part they'll judge our brands and they'll judge our category by the role we played during COVID. It's really important. I'll come back to that, I think, later as we talk about the second half of the year, because I think there are still things we'll need to do in this area of social purpose that will remain important for the long term now. But that was one, and we saw strong consumer engagement. And secondly, I think we found that there are opportunities for, let's call it educational marketing, non-promotional marketing, things that tell stories about diamonds, either historical or current, but are not sell orientated. And we've seen strong reaction to those, and that's a good way to keep our consumers engaged in our category at a time when we're not actively seeking to sell to them. Both of these things, I think, are an investment during lockdown that we make in our consumers that will benefit from in the future. But let's really, what I wanted to talk about this morning is what we do as we enter this new normal. And I think we turn our attention to the second half of the year, recognizing that we have to deal with two issues at the same time. One is the behavioral or emotional impact that lockdown and all the issues associated with COVID-19 will have on our consumer and their sentiments, their mentality, the things they wish to do, their behavior. And the second, we have to deal with the economic fallout from COVID and how that impacts upon our consumer and their behaviors. And these things sometimes work together and sometimes work against each other. So it takes some thought to think your way through the two. I think I wanted to first, before we look into diamonds, just step back and look at some of the major trends that are likely to affect not only the diamond world, but luxury goods as a whole. And I just picked a few of what I think are the 5 more important ones, but they do have impact for us clearly in the diamond jewelry sector. The first one of those is recognizing that that China has exited COVID lockdown earlier. They went in earlier, they've come out earlier, but probably at this stage, and we'll come on to the longer term economic issues perhaps a bit later, but at this stage, probably economically impacted less as a consumer as well. So, one of the lessons is we really need to take advantage of the opportunities in China first and tap them, I think, strongly. Well, there's good opportunity there. We've seen, as we heard earlier from Bernard, we've seen consumers come back strongly in China. That should give us some optimism for the rest of the world as well, and come back strongly to our category. We've seen pent-up demand unleashed, particularly around bridal, and I think that's something that I'll come back to when I talk about diamond jewelry. So some good news there, but also an area we should all be focusing on in the immediate time frame. Second, we've seen, not surprisingly, an accelerated shift to digital. Now, it's obvious that digital has a key role to play in our sector at a time of lockdown because it's the only really way to buy. And we've seen consumers who were perhaps not so willing to buy more valuable diamond jewelry through digital channels do so during the lockdown period. And to some extent, that's going to clearly continue. But we don't know in the medium term what the impact will be. I mean, I've seen people talk about it both ways. On the one hand, more people are using digital, so they'll stick with it. On the other hand, I've heard people talk about the desire people have to engage with real people in real stores and return to retail. And I think we need to be open-minded about that in the jewelry sector. But what we need to know for sure is that during the new normal period, shopping as we knew it, with all the social distancing issues, will be much more challenging and inconvenient to people. And digital will be, in effect, their shopping vehicle. It'll be their appointment-making vehicle. It'll be the tool they use to engage with us, even if they want to come in and make purchases in our retail environments. So we really need to maximize digital in order to maximize in-store retail sales as well, in a way we didn't have to do before. The third, I think, is around a heightened environmental and social consciousness. I talked a little bit about this as we demonstrated as a brand and as a category the things we've done during COVID in order to be, in order to earn and share the values of our consumers through this period. But I think, and I've spoken a little bit about this before, that I think that we're seeing, even before COVID, social status shift from the idea of really luxury goods as symbols of success and wealth to brands wanting to associate themselves with the values, the new values of their consumers. And I think this is the time coming out of this lockdown to really double down on marketing that's associated with helping to solve other problems in the world as well. And I think for us, the environment's going to be critical. You know, our carbon footprint's going to be critical, but also how we're helping people in the communities who are recovering from the impact of this COVID crisis. I think that's an important part of our brand. I think we're going to see that across the luxury goods, but in diamonds, we need to do that as well. I talk about an expanded need for inclusion. That's simply the economic impact which there will be on a large number of consumers as we enter the second half of the year. And what does that mean? It means for us, let's make sure we have price points that are affordable to those who are negatively impacted. And we reconsider some of our merchandise mix in order to encourage people back into our category who may not have the same wealth that they had prior to this. There are others perhaps who are less impacted, and I'll talk a little bit more about how we have to maybe upscale to them in the diamond sector, but we need to reflect on the economic impact. And lastly, I think that we just need to be very careful in our communications in the luxury sector around this concept of celebrating one's success. It's sort of status value, but you know, historically it's been part of showing off the good life. Those sort of messages we need to be extraordinarily careful about. I mean, only this week I saw an Instagram post from someone who was showing that they'd managed to get on their jet to get away to holiday. Most of the comments on that were negative, because people said, it sounds tone deaf, huh? It sounds like you know, they're not in tune with what the world is going through. And we got to make sure that in the diamond area and in gift giving and in luxury goods, that we're not associating ourselves with those motivations, but other ones that I'll talk about in a second. So these 5 things I think are probably relevant to all the luxury goods category, and obviously then impactful on us as diamonds, but there are some that I think are really specific to diamonds. So let me just deep dive a little bit more into the world of diamond jewelry now, and look at some of the 5 trends that I think are really important for us to capitalize on, and what at De Beers we're working hard on now to make sure we get this messaging right. The first to me, and this is the overwhelming and perhaps obvious conclusion, but we must really take advantage of it, is there is a unique opportunity for diamonds within the luxury goods category by really focusing on this traditional role diamonds play as that symbol of love, symbol of a commitment, symbol of appreciation. You know, I've heard people talk about the concept of, you know, one thing about this lockdown is it's made us really reflect on what's important. And most of the time when they say what's important, it is about their relationships, their family, their bonds, their friends. It's about connecting with people. And that's what diamonds do. Diamonds are an expression of that. So we need to really, I think, double down on that particular aspect of the diamond's role in the second half of this year. Now, we're going to do a bit more research with consumers to understand in depth as they get into this new normal exactly what the right, call it hot buttons within this are. You know, what are the do's and don'ts? We'll share that with all in the industry to make sure we've got that message well aligned. But this for us is a great strength. We need to play this tool strongly in the second half of the year. Secondly, I like this idea again of fewer, better things. Now, this is perhaps economically driven in part, but not only. I think part of this COVID reflection is the role that consumption has played potentially negatively impacting on the environment and on the natural world, and overconsumption. And this concept, I think, of thinking hard about what are the things you really dreamed of, not all the things you dispose of, but those things that are really important to you, and just buy a few. Now, for jewelry, that's a fantastic motivation, and we can tap that idea of fewer, better things. Thirdly, for me, and it's sort of related to the fewer and better things, but a little bit different, is this trend or emerging feeling around things that are enduring, things that are timeless, classics, buying classics rather than taking risk on short-term fads or short-term design-driven products, particularly, again, things that are disposable not being such a priority. We need to emphasize that point, this enduringness in a really simple way, this foreverness, partly connected to enduring value, because spending money on things with enduring value now or more will be prioritized above those without value, but also I think communicating the idea of things that you will have with you your whole life and that will represent you over the long term. These are good motivations for diamond jewelry, and we need to build that into our fourth quarter marketing. Some simpler ones, bridal milestone events are going to be and should be our key priority target. We know from looking at the data, largely driven by economic impact during difficult economic periods, bridal and milestone events, big events in people's lives, rise up and take a much bigger share of the diamond jewelry market. And the more discretionary, particularly self-purchase, design-orientated jewelry tends to decline in acquisition. And we know one of the impacts, we've seen it already in China, of this particular lockdown is that it does reinforce people's desire to make commitment. So bridal commitment, important jewelry, there's a big opportunity for us here if we focus on it. And lastly, you know, we do have to remember, while we don't know what the overall expenditure on luxury goods will be, we do know that we have an opportunity to increase our share of that. One of our major competitors, when we look around the world and we ask consumers, you know, what do you want to spend your discretionary dollars on in a way that meets this need of expressing commitment and love? One of our biggest competitors is always travel. And if one thing that's going to be really slow to come back, I think it's going to be travel, together with holding big events like weddings, etc. So within the sphere of romantic gifting, romantic behaviors, celebrating even weddings, we have an opportunity with the diamond to express what people want to express that they perhaps can't do in other ways because of the new normal that we're in. So I think what we don't know, I guess in summary, what I'd say is that, you know, economically, it's not likely to be easy. We don't know what kind of recovery we're going to see, whether it's going to be a V, a U, or a W, or I've even heard of L. But we know that with marketing, we can maximize our position within the expenditure that's available. And there's a few key tools: love, commitment, symbolism, key. Forever, timelessness, enduring value, it's key. And I think thirdly, expressing what we do as a brand and a category to do good. Those are the things that will keep consumers with us. Just a few thoughts for you. David Kellie, the DPA, well, he's got some more pragmatic things. He's working on an entirely new campaign. It's going to be soon launched in our core markets around the world by the DPA. It's all coming in June. He can't show you it all now, but I think he can give you a taste of the excitement to come. So David, can I turn over to you, please?
Thank you, Stephen. So I'm aware that there are many people in the industry that don't know me. So a quick introduction to myself first. I'm a rare thing in this industry, and that is someone that comes from outside the industry. I joined the DPA back in December last year and officially took over in my role on the 1st of January. My background is that I was 15 years with Ralph Lauren, where most recently I was heading up marketing and advertising globally for the Ralph Lauren Corporation. And then most recently I was with the Watches of Switzerland Group in the UK, the largest retailer of watches and jewellery in the UK. And I supported their expansion to the US market. I'm British, as you can probably tell, but I'm based out of our office here in New York. So there are two topics that I'd like to present to you today. In just a few moments, I'd like to talk you through how we will be supporting the industry in the second half of 2020. But firstly, how we're going to be supporting the industry and how we're currently doing it to try and support retailers through the current coronavirus crisis. So what happened with the onset of coronavirus? We led an initiative with the industry bodies in both the US and the UK, really with two components to it. The first, support your local jeweler. And the intention of this is to build an affinity between consumers and local jewelers, and really celebrating the work being done by the jewelry industry in local communities. We all know that at this time, when there's a lot of pressure, it's about supporting local people and local communities, and the work that is done in our industry by jewelers, by designers, by the supply chain is something that we should all be proud of, and it's something that we've made a real effort to make sure the consumer is aware of everything that we're doing. That is promoted through, this is being promoted through social media and a website, all of which is being funded and resourced by the DPA. Also connected to this, we are, and with the same group of industry bodies, we've also set up the Jeweller Support Network. So Support Your Local Jeweller is a consumer initiative. Jeweller Support Network is a trade initiative. And what we quickly found, we did research amongst jewelers about 2 months ago. What we quickly found is that there was a lot of information out there for jewelers, but that it wasn't all aggregated into one location. So what we did is we've created a single go-to website for retailers and industry bodies to be able to see all the resources available to them online in one place. This includes subjects like education, and companies like De Beers have provided a lot of educational tools for free during this time period. It includes access to the many great webinars that are available. It includes financial guidance, guidance on how to be better in the digital world, and also links to outside resources like government resources in terms of how to raise money, what are the current directives on how you can operate. It's been very successful. It's been very well received by the jewelers. So we're looking at whether we continue this post-COVID, because it feels like there's a real need for a single place as to how we aggregate all of the content that is available to retailers in the markets. So those are kind of quick initiatives that we've put together very quickly with great support from all of the industry bodies and created great partnerships. But now I want to kind of turn to what the DPA is looking to do in the second half of 2020 and how we look to support the industry, build the industry as we come out of the current crisis and start looking to the future. So in 13 days time, on June the 1st, we will be relaunching ourselves. I think this is the first public audience where we're announcing this, so it's a great moment for us. On June the 1st, we will be announcing that we will be a new name, we'll be a new entity, so we'll no longer be the Diamond Producers Association. We'll have a new name that I can't share with you just yet. We'll have a new consumer identity, so Real as a Diamond will be no longer. We have a new name, a new tagline, a new identity for that. We'll be launching new websites. We'll have a new consumer website, a new trade website. We'll have all new social media campaigns. So everything that you are more familiar with around the Diamond Producers Association is going to be relaunched and rebranded. And then in the fall, in September and October, we'll be announcing a major new advertising campaign to support retailers and the jewellery industry going through the fall and holiday. It's a huge moment for us. The team has worked incredibly hard during this crisis. In a very, very short period of time. As I said, I only joined it in January, and all this has come together in pretty much 17 weeks. So it will be a big moment for us. We have a lot of activity going on around the launch. And above all else, it's an opportunity for us to speak about the power and beauty of natural diamonds in a new language to a younger audience. And that's really what we're setting out to achieve. Stephen spoke earlier about how the consumer is changing and how the coronavirus epidemic has really accelerated those changes. We completely agree with everything that Stephen said. We believe that natural diamonds will connect with consumer feeling and sentiment better than ever before. And really it's the role of the DPA and everyone that's marketing in this industry is to be the catalyst for that. How do we make this as big a moment as possible to align natural diamonds with the consumer sentiment and the feelings of the consumer going forward. Our mission, it's always good when you start a new role in a new organisation is to be very, very clear in terms of what your mission is, to make sure that all stakeholders are clear as to what your mission are, to make sure that all of the organisations are involved in it. So we set out very early on to be very clear as to what our mission is. And our mission is to create emotional dreams for natural diamonds that are exciting and culturally relevant, and then support those dreams by the values and social benefits inherent in the diamond industry. So put very simply, it's our role to put the dream and the desire back into diamonds. Again, Stephen talked about travel, but whenever we do research for diamonds are still highly desirable. But in the last 10 years, there are other things that have come to compete with us. Travel, experiences, the world of handbags, shoes, even technology. iPhones at $1,000 a time are now competing with jewelry. So it's our mission as to really how we drive the desirability of diamonds and make sure that we are top of mind and the most desirable there. One thing that I'd like to say that we are not going to be our role is not going to be to attack lab-grown diamonds. We see that all of the DPA's role is to build the incredible values of natural diamonds. We will support the integrity of the industry, and we will work with other industry bodies such that if there are things that we believe are damaging the trust and integrity of our industry, then we will work with other industry bodies to try and help resolve those. But our role is to build natural diamonds, and as I said, it won't be to attack lab growns. The world of luxury has been changing for a number of years now, and coronavirus is really accelerating those changes. The new millennial generation is looking for values over and above the status value. And again, diamonds fit perfectly into this sentiment. The power of naturality. We believe strongly that the power of nature will become much more important to the consumer. Up until now, I think it's fair to say that sustainability became a bit of a buzzword. Consumers didn't really know who was truly sustainable, who truly had a mission to be sustainable. But we believe there will be a very honest conversation, and the consumer will be far tougher on companies to really understand their sustainability practices and their intent and their mission. It's very difficult to be truly sustainable. Nothing that we do in our human lives makes us truly sustainable, but it's our mission to become more sustainable that is what's important. And it has to be credible, and it has to be honest. And as someone who's come into the industry from outside, I was incredibly impressed by the work done by our industry. And it's the DPA's role to make sure that work is being shared to the greater audience. Personal meaning and purposefulness is really important to us. There is such a greater level of thought. Luxury can be very fickle. It can be very materialistic. But now it was going this way anyway. But now with coronavirus, the deeper meaning behind objects and things being bought is very important. And then finally, in timelessness, that the consumer is looking for things that are timeless. And if you're going to be truly sustainable, what else in her wardrobe, what else in her closet, what else at home is going to be with you through your lifetime? What else is there in your wardrobe that you are going to pass on to future generations? And that diamond will have meaning for many years beyond the time of purchase. And so again, all of these values are inherent in natural diamonds, and ones that the DPA will be speaking a lot to as part of our campaigns. The consumer that we're speaking to is younger than currently is buying jewelry. The industry, we need to attract a younger audience. We need to speak to them in a language that is different from where they've currently been spoken to. The audience is the Cartiers and Bulgari of the world do a wonderful job at the very high end. The audience we're speaking to, it will be much more of a mid-tier audience. So local jewelers, independent jewelers, jewelers in malls, etc. This will be very important to us, but they want luxury, but they don't want to be patronized because they can't afford high luxury. So a lot of what we do will be very much about speaking to the new consumer in a new way. The imagery that you're seeing here in the future slides is not DPA imagery, just to avoid any confusion. These come from mood boards that we build to create the new world. But it gives a kind of sense of the language that we're going to be speaking in, and what the new world of luxury looks like. So with that, I want to share with you just a couple of mood boards, just to give you a teaser as to how we'll look. Stephen talked earlier on about how travel has been a competitor for the consumer dollar. Without a doubt, experiences are very important to consumers, and their ability to travel will go away in the short term for sure. But experience is still important, and we want to position natural diamonds right at the heart of experience. Natural diamonds reflect memories, they reflect moments in people's lives, and it's a way, a bit like a selfie. If I was 15 years younger, a bit like a selfie in terms of they create memories, and that's how diamonds will connect into experiences and all that is important to this audience in the world of luxury. The second mood board is about nature and being natural, and we want to move outside. We want to be fresh. We want to be happy. We want to be optimistic. Luxury isn't as serious as it used to be. Luxury, certainly when I started my career, was very serious, very almost patronizing. It was very elitist. Luxury now is very democratic, and consumer actually frowns upon on anyone that is speaking in an elitist or patronizing voice. So we've done a lot of work, we've done a lot of research, we've done a researching of mood boards, and we are getting a very positive response to the mood and attitude that we're building around the new DPA position that we're creating. On June the 1st, we will be launching 2 new websites. The consumer website, which will replace Real is a Diamond, and the trade website, an industry website that will replace diamondproducers.com. It's come together in a very short period of time. We have had the support of some amazing contributors. We've been presenting our vision to contributors, to stylists, to editors, and we have a wonderful level of support. It's our objective to be a publisher of content. It's our objective to be the #1 publisher. It's our objective to be the #1 destination globally for consumers coming into websites, looking for information, looking for inspiration, looking for education around the world of natural diamonds. So obviously I can't show them to you yet because we have a number of trade exclusives coming up, but I look forward to sharing those with you from June the 1st. Our industry platform will have everything that is on thediamondproducers.com now, and all of our retail tools as well. Our social media strategy will focus upon the digital world, of course. This audience, the millennial audience, is completely engrossed in digital, and particularly in mobile. And whether it be with Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whether it be with Weibo and WeChat in China, this is where we have to show up considerably stronger. Traditionally, the world has been built around print and it's been built around outdoor and TV, and we will have a presence in those locations, but we first and foremost have to be much better on our social media platforms. And to put this into context as to just how good we can be, is that for those of you that currently follow Real as a Diamond, our consumer Instagram, at the start of the year, we were getting 500 to 1,000 likes or engagements on our platforms. We've done a lot of work. The team has looked at a lot of best practice. We've looked at our media investments, and now we're getting between 50 and 100,000 engagements on that platform. And that just gives you the scale of our ambition. Our ambition is not to just be slightly better. Our ambition is to be multiples in terms of audience, in terms of engagement. We respect and appreciate the scale of the role that the industry wants from us, and we are very engaged and working hard to build that. So our launch plan is that on June the 1st, we will be launching to the industry in Europe and the US. And that launch will then happen in Asia on July the 1st. It's a month later for technical reasons, translation reasons, approval reasons. Through the months of June to August, we'll have a very strong digital platform. We'll be developing the website, the social media. You'll see us being hyperactive in those channels. And then from September, we'll be launching with our major advertising campaign. And that's when you'll see our presence fully through all of the media channels. And again, as soon as we have the ability to share that with you, we'll be sharing that with you. So that just leads me to say thank you very much. Thank you to everyone in the industry who has welcomed me in, supported us. We understand clearly our mission. We understood that clearly before coronavirus, and now with coronavirus, just how important it is for us to be successful. We work on your behalf. We appreciate all of your support. I thank the support of all the members of the DPA. Without their support on the strategy and the financial support, we wouldn't be able to create this. So thank you all, and I think with that I hand back to David.